Hi. When I was 14, I was finally diagnosed of having major depression, and I'd had many outbursts and behavior that reflected that. They also diagnosed me with PTSD. I'd had my first anxiety attack. I was 9. I remember we were living in Colorado at the time, and I had a crush on this kid. And he actually talked to me, and I panicked. And I think I actually peed my pants. And my mom had to come get me. Thing is like, mental illness is not a joke, nor can it be mocked or treated as something that is disposable. And yeah, you'll see cases where white men are pleading insanity, but there are cases of people of color that have been able to put in that plea as well. And I live in Boston, and before, which Obamacare is modeled after Massachusetts' health care, whatever they called it before. I don't remember. Anyways, because I was homeless, anyone who's homeless and in a certain income bracket could get access to mental health. I have had access to mental health care since I was 8 years old. Because coming from a broken home, having learning problems, the schools cared, my mother cared that I got an education. And actually, this is something that I'm going to tell you right now. Do not get mad at me because of what I'm saying. This is what I'm going to say. And I need you to pass it along to anyone you know. If your child is having an emotional problems and they have very bad grades, it is the school's responsibility to educate your child. And if they need psychological intervention in order to help them learn, the schools can pay for you to take your child to a therapist. Because most child development people know that if there is chaos and instability at home, they're not going to learn very well. This is why we do need to end wars overseas. We gotta stop supporting violence in places and dictatorships, because children can't learn in that environment, cannot get out of poverty in that environment. Poverty creates mental illness as well, because you're malnourished, you don't eat enough, you don't have stability. Anyways, there is services. I mean, there are places that it's very difficult to get help. Like, if you're in a rural area, press on your school system, your school district, to help you and get your child help. Now, if you're an adult, if there's a medical center or a hospital, go. Say, go to the emergency room. I've had panic, I used to have these panic attacks, basically. Is when and I knew I was going to hurt myself, and I didn't want to hurt myself. I would take myself to the ER, and they would just keep an eye on me and Most places are like, they'd refer you to get help, and some states are horrible at mental health, yeah. And some of the states that are really bad at it are also probably the same ones that are rejecting the expansion, Medicaid expansion. And this is why we need Medicaid and Medicare to be expanded and protected, is for mental health. Because there are people who don't have access. But you have to go look for it. And I am, there are cultures that see mental illness as a weakness or have such distrust for doctors. Well, if you don't trust doctors and then you're like upset that that a white guy is getting away with by saying they're insane, and you got, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. And it annoys me to no end. So, I mean, just go look for help. Just look. That's it. Go search out for help. Reach out on Twitter, but don't keep making mental illness a divisive issue and be a bigot about it. If you've never sought help, or if you don't believe mental illness is real, you need to be like slapped upside the head. Okay? If that's your issue, you need to be slapped upside the head. Because it's real and it's dangerous, and most times it's dangerous for the individual. And it's, it's a cause for homelessness. If you don't have it all together in your head, you're not going to get employed, or your employer is going to manipulate you and harm you and abuse you. So there's this just do something instead of griping about the German wings. Because so far, everything that is being said about him and what he's done has been clear-cut. He would have been fired. This new information pins a lot of responsibility on his employer. And likely, they're going to be held accountable for this. So, just go get help. Stop. Let the media say what the fuck they want to say. It's just stop making it such a divisive thing that somebody who'd actually had been getting help and actually manipulating people in a way that I think this guy probably has dual diagnoses. It sounds that way, because mental illness can trick you. It really, really depends on what it is that you got going on, but it can really trick you into believing things about yourself. I mean, there's mental illnesses that sometimes the medication is worse than the cure. The medication has side effects that just make it worse. Or some of the warnings on the labels scare people into like, well, should I take this medicine? It says that I could have this problem. And then, being misdiagnosed. My mother's husband was misdiagnosed and was on the wrong medication, and he almost killed himself. So it's like, he's also a pathetic asshole who likes to compete on how sick he is. But he's seriously ill himself. But it's like, if you're on the wrong medications, you can harm yourself and other people. Yes. And that's why we need more access to mental health care. And we need to end the stigma.